about to begin on a great adventure for the next 4 months and invite you all to look around for a second, look at your neighbors, and realize this is as healthy and happy as you'll be for the next 4 months. It's all downhill from here, so sorry for that bad news, but those of you who have been here know that that's the truth. So with that, we'll get started. Thank you again for joining us today. Today we want to unveil some of the Montana Democrats' priority bills for this session. While these proposals aren't the only ideas we'll be bringing to the table, they represent some of the practical and workable solutions to what we feel are the biggest problems Montanans are facing. There are several crises on the horizon, and I'm sure you're hearing it from your friends and neighbors and family. Home ownership is probably or the most important or top of the list. It used to be that most of us, if we were hardworking Montanans, could afford a home, could find a home, could rent a place if we needed a place. We could stay home in our hometowns if we wanted to. And the reality now is that is not the case. We've got friends, we've got neighbors, we've got family that are moving out of their hometowns because they can't find a place to live. That, to me, defines a crisis, especially when we come from a state where we have multi-generations who have lived in the same hometown, and we're losing that legacy, or at least threatening that legacy right now. And coming from the Gallatin Valley, it's nowhere more apparent than off of South 19th, where we've got homeless, working Montanans living in their cars and trailers, and I could only imagine what that was like when it was 45 below in Bozeman. Clearly, our warming centers were filled to the brim, but that shouldn't be the case. Folks should be able to find reasonable homes. Lack of affordable home housing and childcare has now impacted our businesses as they just can't find employees. So in many places, they're working on reduced hours or they've closed their doors altogether. Lack of affordable housing and or high costs and red tape have also kept Montanans from consistent and predictable health care coverage. And you can imagine what that does to a budget when you don't have assurance that you've got reliable health care. Government overreach threatens to criminalize the relationships between you and your doctor. As our platform demonstrates, Montana Democrats believe that everyone deserves the freedom to live where they work. We believe Montanans hold sacred the freedom to make their own health care decisions, and that the government does not belong in your doctor's office. We believe that accessing health care should be fair to all Montanans. We believe that a thriving Montana begins with thriving families, and that every child deserves an equal opportunity for a promising future. Today, you'll see how Montana Democrats plan to pursue real, concrete outcomes for all Montanans. With that, I'll hand it off to Kim, and she can offer her remarks. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. I was unaware you were funny, and I didn't prepare a joke. But that's okay. Hey, you guys, welcome to the first day of the session. I think as you look through our platform, you'll see some common threads, and it's really about our vision to create a fair economy that works for working families, middle-class families. And as you look through our key proposals and policies, what you'll see is we're trying to give working families a fair shake. And we understand, you heard Pat sort of outline some of the crises that we're facing. And what we have is an unprecedented opportunity to invest this session. And we have a plan for it. We're serious about that plan, and we're serious about delivering for our communities. What you'll see from Republicans, and the contrast that I think we'll draw out today, is their policies benefit the wealthiest Montanans, and they benefit out-of-state corporations. Our policies benefit middle-class Montanans, working-class Montanans, and Main Street businesses, small businesses that are the economic drivers in all of our communities, the job creators in all of our communities. We're really excited about this platform. We take it very seriously. We have a lot of talent and creativity in our caucus that's ready to drive this, and where we can work with Republicans on issues that create more fairness across our state, we're going to work with them, and we have good relationships across the aisle. Where we need to hold Republicans accountable for proposals that are helping out-of-state corporations and helping the wealthiest Montanans that don't really need it and not driving a fair economy, we're going to hold them accountable for that and really communicate where their policies are failing. With that, we really wanted to dig in a little deeper on a couple issues, so I'm going to kick it over to Senator O'Brien to talk a little bit about property taxes.
Thank you, Kim. Hello, everyone. It's great to see everyone back. We're back in business. We have been working hard as Montana Democrats to ensure freedoms for Montanans, and we've been working very hard to ensure that your government, our government, is accountable. When it comes to tax policy, which is what I'm going to be talking about, we're very focused on fairness. We all pay our taxes, and we all need to pay our fair share. And that's our job, is to figure that tough question out. What's everyone's fair share? We are investing in Montana's future, making sure that we balance the Montana checkbook, and we're responsible, being held accountable, and putting millions of dollars back into the hands of working families and working people. Our taxes created the surplus, and we deserve to see some of it go back to taxpayers. But we know that the folks who need and deserve tax relief are the working and the middle class, not the ultra-wealthy who can more than afford to pay their fair share. We have heard from neighbors and friends from all over the state that many, as Senator Flowers mentioned earlier, many people simply cannot afford to live in their homes and in their communities anymore, especially those who are retired or otherwise on fixed incomes. We will work to provide long-term tax relief on a number of bills we've already been working on. One, LC, you have in your notes here, LC 141 prevents property taxes from skyrocketing while making sure our cities and counties still have what they need for safe police, firefighters, and road maintenance. LC 1352 will provide a tax rebate for working Montanans, providing relief for the year's property tax bills for this year. And then another bill will expand the earned income tax credit, giving working Montanans more cash in their pockets. That's an example of 3 bills we're working on now. I'm now going to hand it off to Representative Buckley, who's going to talk to us about some of the issues for housing for our workforce and for childcare. Thank you.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about housing and childcare for Montana's families and what those policy solutions might look like, what the urgent need is. We'll kick off with housing. We are facing a housing crisis across Montana. It's impacting my home in Bozeman, where the median housing price was over $900,000 for much of the past year, and wages lagged at $51,000. Folks are living out of their campers in my district. MSU students who want to graduate and live in Bozeman can't. Families are having to move out of their community. But it's also impacting Whitefish, Winnett, every community in between. It just looks a little bit different. It's not new, but the housing crisis has not gotten the serious policy solutions or attention that it has deserved. We did not pass a single piece of substantial housing policy last session. The governor sent back nearly $100 million to the federal government in COVID relief funds that were earmarked for rental assistance. So the time is now. We have all been hearing it from our constituents over the past year and beyond. So we are coming into this session focused on creating housing opportunities for Montanans across the housing continuum. That's incredibly important for us. We're targeting renters with a bill that provides incentives to landlords to offer rents at a rate that people can actually afford. We are investing in long-term housing solutions through a $500 million trust fund that will provide funding opportunities to communities and to NGOs to build units that families can actually afford. And then in our Housing for Montana's Family Act, we are ensuring burdensome and outdated NIMBY regulations that have constrained ADU development, condo development, and manufactured homes are no longer in place, so we can start building more units for families. Another key piece of supporting Montana's families is focusing on policy solutions on our childcare crisis. Quality, affordable care is at the foundation of our economy, yet we have been systematically devaluing the care economy and the essential labor that is caring for our kids. So we are going to be loud coming into the session, talking about the importance and value of childcare, talking about what it's like to actually find solutions when families can't find spots. When they can find spots, it's not affordable, and our childcare workers are making poverty-level wages. We're gonna do 3 things to that, I guess 4 things to that extent. Expand scholarships for Montana's families. We're gonna cap co-pays to move the needle on affordability. We're gonna increase reimbursement to providers to ensure that they have more financial stability. And finally, we are going to create a tax credit program for childcare providers to value their work and inject resources into the workforce. I'm so excited about these and excited to get to talk about these issues. Thanks.
So we'll wrap up there, but I just want to say, as you heard our speakers, you heard what our vision is for a fair Montana and a fair economy, one that works for our communities, for small businesses, and for working families. I think our criticism so far of the Gianforte administration's budget is it doesn't meet the scale of the crisis. It's not that he doesn't address some of these issues, it's that the benefit goes to people that don't need it very much, and he doesn't hit the scale of the crisis for working families and middle-class families. Fundamentally, as you look through our platform agenda, you'll see that it's comprehensive, that it's multi-pronged, that it's serious, and that it'll work. We'll need help from Republicans to get it across the finish line, but we think we have the relationships and the support of communities to do that. So with that, we're happy to take questions. We have sponsors of the various bills. If you have specific questions on bills, Pat and I can kind of facilitate that. Questions from press, Bob. Yeah, my idea of success for this session is that Montana Democrats came out with clear solutions to big crises. We got them as far as they could get. Some of them are going to pass, some of them aren't going to pass. And then to the point where Republicans who are governing, they hold the governor's office, they hold majorities in both chambers, where they failed, we're going to point that out. Really contrast it. Mary, do you want to take this one? We'll have Representative Cafaro. She's on purpose. Yeah.
Thanks for the question. There are some things in the governor's budget that we support. So there are good parts to the budget. However, I want to make it clear that the issues we're talking about today, housing, childcare, property tax relief, and mental health services, those are Democrat values. Those are the values that Democrats have set the table for. We have been working for decades trying to get all of those different issues and components of his budget funded at an adequate and appropriate level. We've fought hard. We've tried to move amendments, motions. We've had bills. Those are Democrat values in his budget. And frankly, his budget doesn't go far enough. And what I'll say is, let's talk about what's not in his budget. Number one, the governor's budget does not address the housing crisis. Every Montanan wants, needs, and deserves a home. The Democrats' plan works to that goal. We recognize that in order for a family to have upward mobility and children to have stability, they need access to the American dream, which is home ownership. That's why our plan addresses that issue, and he really doesn't in any meaningful way. Number two, it's not fair, again, going on the home, as far as a home goes, it's not fair that senior citizens in their twilight years are being ripped away from their homes and their families as nursing homes are closing, and that they're languishing on waiting lists for home and community-based services, for in-home services. That's just not fair, and it's not right. And the governor's budget does not address either of those issues. The other piece is that Democrats want to increase options for families, and we understand that childcare is the cornerstone of our economy, and quality, safe childcare is essential. Families, working families, and children, they deserve that. They deserve no less, and that's why we have that component. And last, during this cold snap, what does that mean for the everyday Montanan? Democrats are here to represent the everyday Montanan. That's our responsibility. We were not sent here to only represent the wealthy and well-connected. We were sent here to represent all Montanans, and in particular, the most vulnerable. And with the cold snap, and as people are receiving their bills, I don't know about anybody else, but I have been hearing from my constituents about what are they going to do, especially senior citizens. They will ration their medicine in order to pay their utility bill only so they can sit next to their stove wrapped up in a blanket in an unsafe way and have the cold air blow through their house. That's just not right. And his budget doesn't do something to address that issue. Democrats will work hard, and if Republicans choose to work with us, great, to solve some of the problems that we were sent here to solve. That's our responsibility.
Thanks, Mary. Eric? I'm sorry, could you repeat a little louder? Thank you. Okay. Representative Sullivan will address that. Thanks.
Hi there. So you were asking about LC 0841? All right, there you are. Thank you. Yeah, sure. So we worked really hard over the interim to make sure that the money that came in from all the federal funding went to getting internet across the entire state of Montana, especially into rural communities. We have another opportunity for a tranche of money. Sorry. Oh, is that another tranche of money coming in that we want to make sure has a lot of legislative oversight. And so this bill will create an accountability commission that essentially makes sure the legislature has oversight over the incoming funds to make sure that it is being distributed in a way that gets more internet to rural and unserved communities. In terms of the existing broadband commission and this new one, I don't have the details set out yet at how it'll be different, but what my fear is that there wouldn't be legislative oversight at all over the incoming funds, and I want to make sure there is. Yeah.
Thank you, Katie. Yes, sir.
In terms of the prospect of this potential constitutional amendment ballot for us Republicans on issues of abortion, the environment, you mentioned some of it, fighting for this thing out. I'm curious what the strategy for pushing back against that is going to be like, and what kind of policies will advance to sort of counter some of those things on issues like abortion, environmental, constitutional protections.
I think it was pretty clear in this last election that Montanans like their Constitution and they like the freedoms and rights that come with that Constitution. And I think you can count on Montana Democrats to fight against any effort to take away those rights and freedoms through amendments to the Constitution. I think you will find Montana citizens here in force when those bills are heard, And I think legislators listen to their constituents at home, and when they hear loud and clear that we don't want you to mess with our Constitution, we like it the way it is, I think they'll be responsive to that. And I'm trusting that our colleagues across the aisle will find that reality, one that we already recognize, and that those measures that are proposed to take away rights and responsibilities found in the Constitution won't in fact occur. Yes, I'd refer that to, yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I can take those. Oh, right now? Absolutely. We tried to have a wide suite of offensive reproductive freedom legislation to say that Montanans value their freedom, their bodily autonomy, their right to privacy. So that spans codifying abortion access all the way down to allowing for 12 months of birth control suspension, ensuring that there are menstrual products in all public buildings and in public institutions. So to say, that looks like a lot of different ways, and we're going to come out again and again and again and say, we hear you, we see you, and we value your right to privacy and your freedom as well.
Other questions? Questions? All right. Kim, you going to wrap up? Or? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. Obviously, we'll be here and available to answer any of your questions as our session progresses. And we look forward to working with you as partners in making sure that we provide accurate, clear information to Montanans across the state during the course of the entire session. So thanks very much for your time. Look forward to seeing you over the next 4 months.